Alright, so we're graphing sine and cosine here. These first four on this page are your parent graphs in degrees and radians. These tables are going to be huge for you to remember and know, and it's just the four or five major angles that you're going to be using with sine, cosine, and that is 0, 90, 180, 270, 360. Okay, and then you just got to remember the pattern of the sine. It starts at 0, then it goes up, back to 0, down, and then back up to 0. Where cosine starts at 1, goes to 0, bottoms out at -1, pops back up to 0, and then back up to 1. So it goes from maximum across to a minimum, and then back up. And that minimum is always in the middle. Okay? So understanding these is what's going to help us graph. So here with our first one, okay, the big thing is to analyze the numbers in the graph. So that -90 right there means that from our tables, okay, we are going to be doing x plus 90. So all of those numbers, 0, 90, 180, 270, 360, those are going to add 90 to it. Then this number right here, this plus 2, tells us that our y values are going to have 2 added to them. So if we go through this, we start at 0, 0 plus 90 is 90. And then, since it's sine, 0 plus 2 is 2. Then you have 90 plus 90 is 180. And 1 plus 2 is 3. Then 180 plus 90 is 270. Okay, then we have 360, we'll end with 450. And then 270, okay, it's pretty easy because those three, the first, middle, and last, are all going to be the same y value. And then the 360 is going to be -1 plus 2, which is just 1. So now we set it up. We're going to say 90 is right here. 450 is here. Halfway in between is 270. Halfway in between is 180. And halfway in between is 360. Then let's set up our heights here. We got 3 is way up here. We'll say 1 is like right here, and 2 will be right in between there. And you just plot it: 90 and 2, 180 and 3, 270 and 2, 360 and 1, 450 and 2. And then you just connect the dots. And hopefully you can make yours look a lot better than mine, but essentially that's what it would look like. Okay, now we have number 6 with the cosine. And again with our table, let's do some analysis here. This number here means we're subtracting 30 from x. And this number right here means we are subtracting 1 from the y's. And so here we go. 0 minus 30 gets us at -30. Then 90 minus 30 is 60. 180 minus 30 is 150. 270 minus 30 is 240. And 360 minus 30 is 330. Then since it's cosine, you're starting at 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. 0 minus 1 is -1. -1 minus 1 is -2. 0 minus 1 is -1. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So here we go. We're going to go -30 here. And we're going to go, let's go 330 way out here. Halfway between them, we'll say is right there. That's 150. Halfway between those is 60. And halfway between those is 240. Alright. And actually we should probably write those above since everything's below the x-axis. So let's do that real quick. -30, 60, 150, 240, 330. I know the scale looks a little funky, but if we mark it as is, we mark it as is, and hopefully your teacher doesn't really worry about it too much. And then we get -1 here, -2 there. So here we go, -30, 0, 60, -1, 150, -2, 240, -1, and 330, 0. And now you draw your curve. There. And it's not pretty, but it gets the job done. Okay? Now here on this one, okay, we have our table, and this plus 135 means we're going to have x minus 135, and this -2 here says we're going to have y minus 2. So here we go. 0 minus 135 is -135. 90 minus 135 is -45. 180 minus 135 is positive 45. Then 190, or excuse me, excuse me, that should be 135. And lastly, that should be 225. Alright, it's cosine, so you're starting at 1. 1 minus 2 is -1. 0 minus 2 is -2. -1 minus 2 is -3. 0 minus 2 is -2. And 1 minus 2 is -1. So everything's below. And we are going to have to extend our x-axis out because -135 is way out there, and that's what we're going to have to do. And hopefully it doesn't move on me. There we go. So extend that out, and here we go. So let's go -135 here. Alright, and then 225 we'll put way out here. Halfway in between, right there, is going to be 45. Halfway between these two is going to be -45, excuse me. Then halfway between these is going to be 135. Alright, and again, I got to pay attention to what we're doing. These things are going to be above because our points are below the x-axis. So -45, 45, 135, 225. And here we go. So -135, and then let's put in -1 there, -2, and -3. So -135, -1 is going to be there. -45, -2, 45, -3, 135, -2, and 225, -1. And then draw on your curve. And there you go. Okay. So now our table for number 8. Okay, we only have this -90 inside, so this means we're going to have x plus 90, and our y's are going to stay the same because there's no k. So here we're going to have 90, 180, 270, 360, and 450. And it's cosine, so we start at 1, 0, -1, 0, 1. So now let's make our chart here. Let's go 90s right here. We'll go 450 here. Halfway is 270. Halfway is 180. And halfway here is 360. So now we got 1, we got -1, and let's start plotting. 90 and 1, 180 and 0, 270 and negative 1, 360 and 0, 450 and 1, and now draw your curve. And back up and complete. Okay, so 9 again, we'll make our table right there, do some analysis. This in here means we're subtracting 135, and then this right here means we're adding 2 to the y's. Okay, so now here we go. We got negative 135. Oh hey, that kind of looks like the one right above it. So we will just steal that part of the table. There we go. Now take the y's. It's a sign, so you start at 0. 0 plus 2 is 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. 0 plus 2 is 2. Negative 1 plus 2 is 1. And 0 plus 2 is 2. So now we just have to set this up. Well, it's the same exact graph as below, so let's extend our x-axis. Negative 135. And then 45. Then 45 again. 135 and 225. Okay, and then we've got we'll go 3 up here, 2 right here, 1 right there, and now plot your points. Negative 135 and 2, negative 45 and 3, 45 and 2, 135 and 1, 225 and 2. And now draw your curve. And there we go. Okay. Same thing here. Okay, so let's set up our table. And we look. Plus 90 means we're going to subtract 90, so we want x minus 90. And then here we have plus 1, so we have y plus 1. So now 0 minus 90 is negative 90. 90 minus 90 is 0. 180 minus 90 is 90. 270 minus 90 is 180. And 360 minus 90 is 270. Now, since it's cosine, you're starting at 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 0 plus 1 is 1. Negative 1 plus 1 is 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. And 1 plus 1 is 2. So here we go. So let's start at negative 90 right here, which puts 90 at probably about there. We got 0 and then 90 and then 180 and then 270. Okay, now put in our scale. We just have from 1 to 2, or 0 to 2, excuse me. And now let's go. Negative 92, 0, 1, 90, 0, 181, and 272. And here we go. And back up, and there you go. You're all done. And that's graphing with degrees. We'll do the radian shifts on the next video.